How long can you hold your breath? 30 seconds, 4 minutes. Welcome to Healthy Home, the Inside Story, a podcast brought to you by Broan-NuTone. I'm your host, Dave Jones. The typical time someone can hold their breath is like around 1 to 2 minutes. It's not very long. The person that held their breath for the longest record, is a Spanish free diver who had to breathe pure oxygen before the dive, and he got to 24 minutes. That's quite a long time. How long can you hold your breath, Taz? Taz, let me introduce you. Hey, everybody, this is Taz Khalil. He's our product manager for our advanced technology stuff, and in particular, our Overture automated indoor air quality product. Super cool. We might talk about it a little bit later or in a future episode as well. But anyway, just know that he's an indoor air quality expert far more than I am. All right, Taz, how's it going? And how long can you hold your breath?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great. I think if I were probably given the same amount of pure oxygen that Spanish free driver had, I could maybe make it to like a minute and a half. I think I could probably set a new low record with oxygen. Yeah.
All right. That's fair. I can appreciate that.
Of
All
course.
right. Well, why the heck are we talking about holding our breath? What does that have to do with a healthier home podcast and Broan-NuTone and indoor air quality? Why are we talking about it?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think that the main topic is, we breathe a lot, right? You ever do that thing where someone tells you to breathe and now you're constantly reminded for the next 5 to 10 minutes to breathe over and over and over again? You know how annoying that is? Yeah, of course. Exactly. And to make matters worse, that's only for that 5 to 10 minutes that you are actively breathing, thinking about it. It happens to me all the time. I literally work in an environment where all we're doing is talking about air, how to make air better, air. And it's like this constant reminder for me to just manually breathe for that amount of time. So if you imagine how annoyed you get with that, now you do that just automatically, really without thinking, for 24 hours a day. You probably, like you mentioned, can't hold your breath for more than 2 minutes. And to compound on that, a lot of that, up to 90% of that, is actually spent indoors.
That's a lot of time. 90% of my day is spent indoors. I don't know. Explain that to me. Where you get 90% from? I don't know. I guess I don't drive to work anymore. I'm at work. I'm in my office. But 90% seems like an awful long time. I mean, I got a dog. I gotta go walk him. Are you sure 90%? That's the number?
I'm sure. If you actually look at the data from the EPA, they say it's about 90% of our time that we spend indoors. So
that's a lot.
You got to think about all the aspects of your life, and definitely there are some use cases or some individuals that maybe have a very active lifestyle or maybe do outdoor work, but the majority of us are doing about 90% of our time indoors. You wake up in the morning, you're indoors, you're sleeping 8 hours, hopefully a day, that's indoors. You're driving to work, technically you're in your car, but you're indoors, you're in a confined environment, right? Then you get out of your car and you do a 30-second walk to the office where you're going to spend the remainder of your 8 hours, which is also indoors. Perhaps after work, you're going to a gym. So, 30 seconds in between your car and your gym, you're walking outdoors and breathing outdoors. But, at your gym, you're also breathing indoors. So everywhere you go, you're breathing indoors. That's the problem.
All right. I get it. That makes sense. The scary thing that is that I read, EPA again said something about our indoor air quality being 5 times worse or up to 5 times worse than the air outside. That freaks me out a little bit. I don't know. That's bad. I guess I don't know how it could be that bad. I don't park my car in the house. It's in the garage. It's attached. Right. So I'm not driving it in the house. I don't have an open bonfire in my kitchen that I'm cooking over, peat bogs or whatever it is, they make scotch out of, right? I'm not I don't know, man. That feels like a lot. What's in our air? What makes up indoor air quality?
Well, I mean, everything you do impacts your air quality, right? You're sitting at your desk right now. I'm sitting in this office. We're both breathing, right? We're creating poor indoor air quality, actually. We're breathing in oxygen and breathing out CO2. So hold your breath. Don't want to make your air quality worse. I'm kidding. But truly, every step of the way, you're making poor indoor air quality actions. You're cooking in the morning. You make bacon or whatever. That bacon smell is a concoction of particulate matter, CO2, VOCs. You take your shower in the morning, you're adding a lot of humidity and moisture into your home. You come home after work, you invite a couple of people over. Whatever you're doing, you're typically creating some level of indoor air pollution, right?
Sure.
You're getting ready in the morning, you're putting on your hairspray like you do normally, that
Turtle wax.
causes
It's
turtle
turtle
wax.
wax.
Sorry, my bad.
Right.
Regardless, VOCs, right? Odors, chemicals in
Yeah,
the air
what is a
that,
VOC? Hold on, time out. Like you said a lot of big words there.
yes,
Humidity, VOCs, particulate matter. Like why are we talking about this? Like maybe like are there major components of indoor air that we should be thinking about? And are they a piece of it? Is it all the same thing? Like, can you break it down a little bit for us and explain that?
sure. Yeah, I think for me, we always talk about good and then poor indoor air quality or polluted indoor air quality.
Okay.
To me, there's a very simple definition out there. Some people abide by this, some people don't. But to me, good indoor air quality is just air free of pollutants, right? If you really want to get super scientific, it's a blend of nitrogen and oxygen and a certain level of humidity. But beyond those things, right, everything else that's in your air is a pollutant. It's something that you shouldn't be breathing in, whether that's particulates, so physical stuff flying in the air, whether that's VOCs, which are like chemicals or odors that you could sometimes detect, things like CO2 that are, again, exhaled by us, and lastly, humidity, right? Depending on that level of moisture in the air, humid can cause all sorts of different problems, not just with comfort levels, but also structural problems and health problems like mold and mildew. But on the flip side, you may have very low humidity, and up in Wisconsin where I am, we have very dry winters and very humid summers, so we get actually the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, I feel like I'm from here too, right? I mean, I got my
Yep.
Milwaukee mug here. Like this is home too. I feel my dad had that problem in his house. The floorboards had shrunk and he couldn't figure out why. And then because I know a little bit about indoor air quality, I was like, dude, I think you need more humidity in your air. And he got all weird and thought like, man, that's gonna like cause like mold problems, like you said, right? And I said, yeah, but like your floors are falling apart and like you got to have like itchy skin and it's dry and you're probably flaking off and the dog's probably uncomfortable and probably emitting dander into the air. You were talking about particulates. I'll bet that's part of it too. Like dogs and cats and dander and fur and all that kind of fun stuff getting into the air. It sounds like there's a lot of stuff in our air, Taz. That's a lot.
There sure is. There sure is.
Right.
I think the best way for you to get better indoor air quality really is to remove some of that stuff, right? There's a lot of interesting products out in the market today that will add or kill or remove certain pollutants. But, really the best way to do it is to just take a look at your indoor air quality. You need to get kind of a baseline for, what your air quality looks like. And unfortunately, a lot of us can't really tell what our indoor air quality is. If I were to ask you what the CO2 level is in that room that you're sitting in, your answer would be correct. And unfortunately, a lot of these pollutants are, can't see, can't smell. They exist. They're there. You can buy a sensor, plug it in, and measure the air quality, and it'll tell you what that air quality is. But without that sensor, it's really hard for you to be able to tell what's in your air. Some things we can detect, like you could probably guess the level of humidity that you're in within 20%. But CO2, odorless and invisible. So, it really affects you without you even knowing.
Yeah, the CO2 one's interesting. I've read some stuff and we've had some discussions. I think you told me a story once about sort of like when we live in our homes, we go to bed, we close our door. It might be us and our partner and maybe a kid because there's a storm out and the dog and the cat and everybody's all in one room and we close the door because that's what we do and basically trap ourselves in there. And you had some interesting, I guess, anecdote or story about like what that does to like our brain function. What were we talking about? Can you remind me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you were referring to is like, an issue in most homes where, indoor air quality may be on average pretty good all throughout your house, but you're creating these problems in spot locations, right? Like when you're creating humidity in your bathroom, it typically sticks within your bathroom, right?
Sure.
It's very
On the
high
mirror.
humidity in that space, on the mirror, on the walls,
Yeah.
everywhere, basically, right,
Okay.
in that room. And those are, for lack of a better term, little microclimates, right, that you're creating of poor indoor air. And if you were to just look at your average indoor air throughout your home, you may be okay. But that one specific room that you're breathing in is not doing so great. And
Okay.
to your point, CO2, right? Everybody hopefully sleeps 8 hours a day between the hours of 10 and, 7 or 10 and 6. And you're creating a lot of CO2 during that time, whether it's yourself, your partner, your pet, all breathing the same air, closing the door. And, we actually have a lot of access to data from our Overture system. And, we've had a lot of people come up to us and tell us, hey, I have a sensor that goes yellow pretty much every night between the hours that I'm sleeping. And lo and behold, we'll look at the data and CO2 will rise up and stay and then sharply drop off when they leave.
Okay. Why does that matter? What does CO2 do to us? Like, why is that an issue? I mean, we've been sleeping in closed door rooms forever. Like, why do I care? Like, I'll be fine. I wake up every morning and, I'm always tired, but whatever. Like, why do I care?
Well, a lot of the CO2 study that I've seen have referenced a lot of cognitive decline during high levels of CO2. So you get poor sleep, you would do, worse on, mental exams. They actually did this study where they put two kids, they took the same standardized test, and they had one room properly ventilated, so CO2 levels didn't reach an unhealthy amount, and then another room where they didn't ventilate it. So it actually just continued to fill up with CO2 and actually, I think, reached around the 2,000 parts per million range. And in that space, they conducted the test. They looked at the two test grades, and the difference was about 20%. So you can imagine what that means on your test scores. I mean, that's from, an A to a C, or, in my case, a C to an F, kidding, of course. But it's pretty drastic in terms of what you can remember, how you feel, how energized you feel in the morning. All of that can affect.
Wait. Are you saying that when I feel tired in the morning, it's probably because I've got my door closed and it's not ventilated in there? Is that what you're saying?
That's
Awesome.
Probably one of the biggest things that are affecting your sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not sleeping at all is not helpful either. I have a little kid, so like that's not helpful. But I get
2.5 hours of good sleep is unfortunately not enough.
Not enough. No, I hear you. It brings up an interesting point. I thought about I think a podcast I heard somewhere or a study I read. Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt, but Taz and I go down a rabbit hole that would make this episode far too long. So we're going to pick up the conversation where he and I are talking about the intersection of indoor and outdoor air quality.
Outdoor air quality is so important, and a lot of people don't think about it. But, outdoor air quality for, I'll say, the majority of homes, unless you have some, super HEPA filtration system, that typically is going to be your baseline, right, for your house. So if you've got, poor outdoor air quality and, you're bringing that in, you're just going to compound on top of that, right? So if you're at a C outdoor air quality, you can only go down from there if we were to give it a grading scale. So, we're adding all of these pollutants to whatever our outdoor air quality is. And, outside of, I'll say pretty drastic situations like forest fires and other, large events like that, our outdoor air quality is pretty much what we're breathing in, if not worse, when we're indoors all the time.
And it's probably better outside than it is indoor. And even then, you can filter some of that stuff as it's coming in. I know there's a lot of products on the marketplace. We make them ERVs and HRVs, products that bring air in, basically, is all that means. Like, it's a fancy machine that brings air in, but you can filter it, right? Like you mentioned HEPA filters, or you can put a filter in your house and just filter the air through a HEPA filter and draw out all that bad stuff. I know that's a whole other complicated thing that you and I will probably talk about someday, is filters and air purifiers and what all that means. And I've got UV and I don't know, like a satellite that does something. I don't know how it all works. I'm not very smart when it comes to that science. I just know that my air is supposed to be cleaner with it, but we'll talk about that one later. But anyway, like, you can make the air in your house better, even if the air outside isn't super great. Relatively, you can make it pretty good. That's cool. I think all right, I kind of got a handle on this now, on like what our indoor air quality is, right? It's got none of the bad stuff. It's got the good stuff. We leave the good stuff in and get the bad stuff out. We can filter it. We can do stuff to make it better. And we should, if we want to be smarter, be more comfortable, sleep better. I hope I can sleep better someday. Maybe my daughter will get old enough eventually and I can sleep at night. My poor wife, I mean, she probably wakes up more than I do, so I shouldn't complain. But anyway. Well, cool. Hey, like, this is good. This is a good conversation. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners and our viewers on YouTube learned a lot as well. That's some good stuff. I appreciate your time, Taz. Yeah. And when you get home, take a deep breath, like breathe it in. Do you smell something? Like, how are you feeling about it? I think Taz, you might have told me this too, like candles. We light candles to make our air smell good. That's VOCs. That's chemicals, right? That we're breathing in, even though they smell good. Like, that's probably not good for our health to be breathing that in. Plus the smoke and all that stuff that comes off of them. That sounds like a kind of a bad idea.
Yeah, you really never really want to add stuff to your air to make it better, right? Like,
well, how do I
said,
get rid of like the bad smell from my gym socks?
Well, that sounds like a job for a laundry machine, not a
all right, that's
ERV.
fair.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
But to be 100% honest with you, if you're trying to get rid of smells or odors around your house, you gotta do source control. You gotta figure out what's causing those issues, and then continuously ventilate that space so that it doesn't get stuffy. Right.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, cool. Well, again, take a deep breath. Feel good about it. Hopefully you feel good about your air quality and about the wellness of your home. If not, keep listening. We'll cover some more stuff and dig in some of these topics deeper. That said, if you have ideas, if you have questions, if you have comments, send them my way at freshair@broan.com. And I'll take a look and we'll try to address it in a future episode. It might become a future episode itself. So reach out to me if you've got those questions or comments. And in the meantime, from Taz and I and everybody at Broan-NuTone, you stay well. Thanks, Taz.
Take care.